and then we said that for I in the range, we talked about range, and the range means if you have between 0 to 10, it means the range of 0 to 10, which is 9. So it means for us to say in the range of length of this particular beginners, it means that we are talking about the range between Nulu to Ruru is what we are talking about range. So it have to print, that is how we printed each of them here. And then here was where we access each of them. So I want to talk about while loop a bit before we proceed. The while loop is the same thing as what we use up here. The difference is that we didn't say range here, but we name our distance as 0, meaning in the index of 0 here, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, that it should, when it is 0, that is, we define the first, which is starting at 0. Now, while I is less than the length, that is, whatever we name, whatever we call, it should print the rest. If we put 2, it should print the rest of other things. So I am trying to let us understand what the entire code says, or what the entire code is stated. Yeah, I don't know whether I clicked on decline or accept. So let me send him an email. Right, so what I was saying, we say for while that is while it is 0, whatever it is, so it should print the rest. So if I put 0 here, it means it should start from 0 to the end. So which is the length of this particular distance. So it should print it. So here, this means that start from 0, whereas this means interval is going to loop. Like I said, if I run this particular code, it's going to start from loop and print to Ruru here, because I said from here, start from 0 and print whatever that is inside the list to the end. Now, if I put up 1 here, it means I say start from Pablo and print to what is here to the end. Now, here means that it should be looping one after the other. Add 1 to it means print Nulu, print Pablo, print Nulu again, print Collins. But if I put 2 here, it means I'm asking it to loop across it, which is print Nulu, print another Nulu, print another Sterling, jump it by 1. So if I put here by 3, it means I am asking it print Nulu, print Collins, print Victor. So you can only have this one telling you the number of interval is going to print. Here, if I say 3, it means start from the number of 3, which is Collins. This is 3, and then start from the number of 3 because it is in the list here. So start from the number of 3, which is Collins, and print 3 intervals. So you see here, Collins is number 1. Start from Collins. 1, 2, 3. It will print Victor. So this is just what I want you to understand here, because this is the last thing we did that day and we stopped. So I want you to look at it over and over again and see if you have any problem, because I want to proceed with looping just like we talked about last time. Do you have any questions?
Sorry, it's not so clear to me because um I don't know how to just explain it. You said I equal to 3.
Yeah.
They not say while I is less than the length of beginners,
Mm-hmm.
uh print I.
Mm-hmm.
So how come you printing Collins and Victor?
Okay, so this is what
Huh?
happened. Let me explain it judiciously. Now, what this less than the length of the bed means, I, whatever you put up I here, it should print the rest to the whatever you put in there, it should print the rest. Now let's talk about it. I declare a variable which is list and put all this name, and I say that I is equal to 3. means I have not touched the I. This is why I started using the I under number 2. Then I say that the I, whatever I put up the I in the length of whatever that is inside here. Now the first thing it's going to recognize is this. Let me remove this. I want to comment this if you can understand what I'm saying. Let me comment the beginning of this code. Now I want to comment here and I want to run the code. Now it is going to be an infinite loop because you see this is Collins. So it's going to keep on running because Collins is number 3. Because while loop says there is a rule, we will talk about while loop extensively so that you understand the meaning of while loop. While it is looping, while I am waiting, while something is happening. Now, because I use Collins here, see, I say I is the length of, so it will keep on looping Collins. So while I supposed to tell it, this is the what I want you to do. So that is why while loop is different from if. So and now because of this, I commented this. It is running and you see it is showing Collins only because when it comes to pick Collins, keep on picking Collins, but it is running while Collins is running, which is right. Then I said here that instead of it running that way, while Collins is running, append 1 to it, which is I is Collins. You see I here is Collins. But or add 3 to it. Let me add 1 so that you understand what I'm saying. Let me just remove 3 and then add 1 to it. So I'm removing Collins, I'm adding 1 now. Now I'm going to run the code. Now you're going to have Collins, Sterling, Blake, Ruru, and Victor. That means while start from number 3, which is I have declared that the I, because I'm using while loop, the I is equal to 3, which is Collins. Now print the rest of them by adding it at 1 intervals. It will pick Collins, Sterling, Blake, Victor, and Ruru. But if I say while you are in Collins, because I've declared that Collins is number 3, this is number 3. Do you agree with me on that?
Yes, yes.
Yes. While is number 3, start with Collins, but I want you to go into 2. So this is Collins. It will jump Collins because I say to Collins 1, 2. It will pick 2. Victor 1, 2. Do you get now? Collins 1, 2. Victor, after we print it will count again 1 and 2 because I put 2 here. So if I run this code, I'm going to have Collins as number 1, which is number 3. Then the next thing is Blake, and the next thing is Ruru. So this is that I'm putting it. This is Collins, Blake, Ruru. Now if I put 0 here, it means start from Lulu and run Lulu again, Sterling and Ruru because it is running in that order. So it's going to go that in that particular order. Did you get what I'm trying to say now? So it's going to print Lulu, Lulu, Sterling, Victor. But if I say here that is no more 0, but I want this thing to be 2, just like so, if I want it to be 4, it will start with what? And after Sterling, what will come again? Nulu, because it have to complete the distance. So it will be Nulu and Sterling because this is 4 intervals. 1, this is 4, this is another 1, 2, 3. It will return back again to Nulu. So you have to solve Victor. This is 4. I put 4 here. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and then 1, 2. It will return back again because it is trying to run and close up the loop. So this is just the whole distance. If you put 0, it will start with Sterling because the length of Beck is this. So it starts with Sterling. Remember there is 2 here. So if you put 1 here, it means Sterling, Nulu, Pablo, Nulu, Collins, and rest of them. So that's what it ought to be. I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying to say now. Can I proceed?
So you can proceed.
All right. So
Sir.
let's go to let's talk about a bit. I think we're supposed to be entering into looping using you are looping and using list comprehension. Nulu, what is comprehension? Remember what they say comprehension, like normal English language.
Yes,
Can you just tell us what is comprehension?
it's a passage now that will show that you understand. Okay, is it literal English meaning? Comprehension is to understand. So most times to test the understanding of students, they give us a short passage so that we'll answer questions after.
So can you explain this code using what you said now? We are now
Could you?
using loops comprehension. So what I want to say here is that you see this particular
Eh,
code. Do you see this?
but
Okay, go ahead.
no, like I cannot explain it. Sorry.
Okay. What I'm saying is that if you look at the code we write earlier about, if you look at this code is just the same thing. If you look at this code here,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay. If you look at this code, particular code here, we use for, but we want to now make things simplify things better. If you remember, we're declaring variable one by one, but now we are putting them in list and are accessing them. So we want to do the same thing, but for this way, we want it to be inside here. Look at this code. You can see now that the code is shorter, about 2 lines only, and we want to do the same thing that we achieve in the rest of them. So by using comprehension list, so we can shorten the syntax and make it smaller. So that's just exactly what we did here. We now go in here and say print. To print this, we put all of them in the list again. That is using the comprehension list. So we put it up here. So it is no more in this format. We put it up like this. And if you run this particular code, which is print x for x in the beginning, that is for x in the beginning. So we are now trying to put like print x, that is each, like we say this, which is going to be wrong because it is not in comprehension list. There is a problem here, but when we put it in a list back, like the way I am doing now, we should be able to access it. That is, remember what we use when we use for loop. When we use for x in a particular print this. The only thing is that we're putting them inside the list back again. Because when it comes back to return no, because we have first run through it, and when it's coming back there is nothing, so we have to run as no. So what I'm saying is that in this part it is just like a shorter way of getting the same thing we get done. So we now put them into the list up here. I just want us to see this and then see how we can look through using a comprehension list. Now we are going to talk about comprehension, and comprehension is a way it helps you like offer a shorter, like make the syntax very short when you want to create a new list. So based on the list we have now, you can create a new list using like a particular letter, and then with that comprehension list you will also have to write the condition statement inside. Just like you see here, we didn't use any conditional statement like for this inside, like putting it in indentation and putting them in a loop. But because we are using comprehension, we're going to use comprehension where we need to print a new list. Like when we said last time, I said I'm going to answer this question. Lulu asked me, how do we get how do we create a new list without touching the new one? So to answer this question, we need to create a new list. So for me, to create a new list, I am just going to say a new list because it is a list that we are creating. For us to create a new list, we are going to create an empty list. And the empty list, like I said last time, It's just a list without anything inside it. So you can put something inside it when you want. So for this, we are going to use for loop, because we are going to say for x in the beginners. Then we are going to say if I am going to use no loop, so let me use u, because I'm going to use what we have in there. Let me use u as no loop. So for u in x, that is for u in the x, remember the x, which is x inside, x means an element inside the beginners. For u in x, so I want you to bring a new list. Now if you notice this code, now we are going into two indentation. We have been using one, but we are talking about two now. So what we are doing is now going up. So to append something, we already talked about append, which is appending is adding something to new something. So append whatever we have in the new list into x, and this we can print the new list. Now I want you to look at this code and tell me if you have any issue with it. Because the whole thing here is we create, this is the list, and we want a new list of beginners or new list. You can put this in anything, and you say for x, which is every element inside here, if the element have u inside that element, add it to the list and give me a new list. It is simple. If the element here have u, add it to the list and print new list. It is saying something like attribute error. What happened? Oh yeah, I made a mistake. Append supposed to be double p. Yeah. So if you look this, the code says for all the item inside the list we have created, want to create a new list without touching other list. For all the item inside here, I want you to give me a new list of a list that contain you inside it. Let me give a practical example in real life. Real life is that I want to look for in a list of students in 500 level. I want to look for everybody that answers Collins. Now, how do I get everybody that answered Collins? Put people that answer Collins in a new list. So what I could do is create a new list, just like what we said now, and we put the name of what we want to create as new list inside there, and then we say give us a new list. That is what I'm supposed to do. So now if I want to create a new list of people who answers Collins, or people who have O in their name, I will just need to change this to O, and I run the same code. It will go inside this list and look for anybody that have O in his name, and then it will print it for me. You see Pablo, Collins, Victor, and Ruro. Now what if I want to see anybody that have I inside his name? So I want to create it as new list. I don't want to touch it. So I can now go in there and put I, and I will run it, and I will see everybody here that have I in his name. You can see Collins, Sterling, and Victor have I in their name. I don't know whether you are with me or I am too fast. Are we still together?
Yes.
So this is how you can get this inside a particular distance. Now, one of the example, probably like I said in real life, I've given example in real life. You want to search for students that answer this name and put them in a particular list, or you want to look for people who their name start with S and put them in a particular list, or you want to look for people which have a particular listing in their listing in their name, and you want to put them inside a new list. You can just use those way, and then you sieve them out from the main, like people that have IN, you see Collins and Sterling have IN. With this, can putting up this criterion, I can get people who have this kind of this thing in their name, whether list or property. We are talking about small things because we are still in the beginning. So when we are going to complex things, it is not going to be your name, but you are going to use this knowledge to apply to it to be able to understand it. So if you are using this, there are so many instances you can find it. Which point, maybe point 1, point 2, point 3, which of them have B, you should also know how to select them and append them in a new list without touching the old one. This answers the question you asked me the last time. How do you create a new list without touching the old one? So you can have a criterion that you can set up for it, and then use that criteria to judge it, and it will automatically pick it up for you, and then you're able to create a new list without touching the old one. So this is just a simple way how you can achieve that. And now you can also do the same thing. I just want to summarize lists collectively and comprehension, so that you understand how it works. Now, using this same code, let's say we want to create a new list again, and we say new list is equal to, let's start that the new list, if you want to something that contain in the list, you can say x for x in the beginner, which is what we are using. If it contain, like I said, if there is a inside it, then if there is a inside it in the x. Now what it means is that you are putting it in the list, and this have the condition that I'm going to say it contains. Anytime it contains something, it is going to print this. So if I go inside, sorry, I'm supposed to write it contain. Now if I go inside here and say print a new list, and then I run this code, that means for any of them which contain inside here, it should print it up, that contain a inside it. You will see Pablo and Blake. If you look at this code, you will see that it is x for x in beginners if a is in x. Now this is contain, and if you look at the earlier code we write, we say print x for x in x. Now we are using if. So this is how you can write a contain, which means any of the code you are writing which contain a particular thing, just note it. Any of these things that contain a particular thing, print it out or append it into like a new listing. Now another way you can still do the same thing, if you want to print every other person's, like I want to only print every other person except Nulu. I want Nulu did not pay her school fees. And as a programmer, your school said anybody who did not pay school fees, don't print his or her name, even if the person is qualified to write an exam. And as a programmer, the school hire to take care of the website, how are you going to achieve this particular thing? So we are going to say here not contain. Now something that doesn't contain, I don't want you to put people or range number, depending on how you declare the whole thing. How are you going to achieve that? Then you are going to say if you change the statement here, x, if x is not, remember we talked about this, if x is not equal to, you say a or Lulu or whichever range number or whatever name you pick, it is going to work in as much as it is contained inside there. So with this, you will be able to have a printer that does not have those particular parameters you say that does not contain. So I'm going to put this thing as new list 1, and I'm going to add 1 to this to make it the same thing. So I'm adding up 1 here to print this, and this will help me give all the people who does not contain then the name does not have a particular strings on it. Now, in this way, it ought to be, sorry, it ought to be somebody's, like it ought to be a full this thing, like example. I want all this list printed out. I want this list to contain everything, but I don't want it to contain Nulu. So in this case, what I'm supposed to do is I will define the name I want, like I put up Nulu, print everything here, and give me a new list from my original list. But so this is how I can put up Nulu, and you see I started with Pablo, Collins, Sterling, Blake, Victor, and Lulu, but it didn't add Nulu here. And if it is Pablo that I want to blacklist, I will still put Pablo here and say print everything, but don't include Pablo. Automatically, if I run this code, it will change and will print Nulu, Collins, Sterling, Blake, Victor, but Pablo is not going to be here. So this is simply the way you can say do something but don't add another other thing to it, and create it as a new list but don't touch any other thing. So this is how you can get that achieved. Now this is when you are talking about not contain. But when you want to use with no if statement, if you want to work on the same thing but you don't want to use if statement, you create a new list. Let me use it as list 2, and then in this case you are going to say for x in x. So I am going to say for x in the x, that is in x in beginners. I don't want to use if statement. That is x in beginners, sorry, x for x in beginners. So in this way, I don't want to use this, but I still want to put it in a list. And if I print the list 2, which is print new list 2, if I print new list 2, I should be able to have this. I should be able to have new list, not touching the other ones. So it means the same thing I used in one, like in the other one where we use 4 and we printed this. So if I want to use this without putting an if statement, this is the short way you can do it. It's a perfect example of what I used earlier up here. So it is just like we want to do those things without. Go ahead.
Please, I just want to find out, is the network issue from me? Because your voice is cracking, sir. Like
Maybe
it's breaking.
village people. I don't know. Is anybody having
Is
issue?
it the same?
Yeah, same thing.
Pablo, can you hear me well?
I think I'm having the same.
I want to know whether is it
No, not really. It breaks at some point.
so that means
At some point, it breaks. It's not stable.
okay. I think hold on. Give me 1 minute. Let me refresh my internet source, please.
Can hear you, sir.
All right. So this is
Hey,
okay. Okay. So this is using X. So I just want to like summarize list within this here. So assuming you want to have a list that you want to print in a range, So you can still use something like this in terms of numerical, where you have this for a particular range. You can say in range. Remember we talked about range last time when we talked about random. So you say in the range of 10, and with this it is going to give you what is a function that is going to iterate within that range. So if you want to like print list 3, new list 3, let me replace this with 3, and if you run this code, you should be able to have a new list that range between 0 to 10. That is between, because you said the range of 10, so it's going to give you what is within the range of 10. So this is just a short way you can do it. Remember what we said earlier when we talk about range. The range between the 10 is that number you have, don't include that number, because 0, 1 to 10, if I change this thing to 15, it is going to give me up to 14. So this is a way you can print a range. You see this particular line only, this line is not part of this code of X or beg, but it's just this line that gives us this result. So I want to put a range between 0 to 10, so it means from positive it's going to give me this range. So this is how you can use when you're talking about range, like we talked about it last time. So when you're talking about range, this is what we are going to have. Now what if we want to talk about another new list, and we want to like walk between a range that only accept a number, a particular number. Let's say you want to look for a range that's between 0 to 10, or between, no, sorry, that is less than 4 or less than 5 or less than 10, whichever way you want it. You can still do the same thing. Let me just copy this code to make it faster. I can copy this same code and then paste it here, and then make a modification. Now we have 1 to 10, but we want it to have, give us the range that if it is less than, if the x, let's say it is less than 3 or 6, this is what we want it to print. So we want it to be within a particular range. So assuming you will go to work and you collect the numbers of elevation, but you are asked to remove elevation that is between 0 to, in the elevation of 1 to 10 of a mixed number, you want to only see the elevation that is less than 4 meters, or an elevation that is less than 5 meters. So as a programmer, all you just need to do is to define that parameter range, and that will happen. Like you can see here, we say a range that is less than 3. Now you can see it only showed us 0, 1, 2. What if I say a range that is less than 8? It means that it is going to give us a range between 0 to 7. Now you see this is going to give us 0 to 7, because I say a range that is less than 8, then it is going to give us 0 to 7. When the result comes, I see from 0 to 7. And if you say a range that is less than or equal to 8, it means that it's going to give you from 0 to 8. So it is just like a mathematical function. So with this, even if you have a big data, you can quickly save this and print. Oh, sorry, it is an invalid syntax, because it is in the list. So this is the way you can make this work. You can put it in a range, and that is going to give you the range between a number to a number from a given number. You see here we put 10, and we say give us something that is less than, whatever that is less than 10. What if we say something greater than 8, between the range of 10, give us something that is greater than 8? It is going to give us what is greater than 8. 9 is greater than 8. So it is going to give us what is greater than 8 at the range of 10. You see, that's why we only have 9. Yeah, go ahead. Is this still breaking? Yeah. It is still breaking. I think, sorry about that. don't know what is happening to internet today, but sorry about that. I'll check what is the problem next time. Okay, so this is how you can check the range. So you define the range. Assuming you have up to 100 here, you can say print a number that is between 100, between 10 or greater than this. You can say if I put up 50 here and I run the same code, it's going to give me from 9 to 49. This will have this long number here. It's going to give me from 9 to 49 because I said print number that is greater than 8 from the range of 50. So this is the way it works. If I put up 15 here, it's going to give me from 9 to 14 because I said give me a number that is greater than 8 in the range of 15. So this is how you can work on ranges. Also, to make a little bit modification before we can proceed. Now let's say with the same thing we have talked about before, and then this is the names of the beginners up here, from the beginning to here, and we want to make modifications on the names. Now I just want us to talk a modification of turning a particular list into something else. So we already have that and we want to create a new list. Let's make it a list 5, and we can call the list 5 as whatever that is inside there. So to put them in a list, remember we're talking about comprehension, so we're going to say dot upper. Remember, like I said, upper is the built-in function, and you put it this. Remember, upper is a built-in function that we have talked about. It's part of things we do in our quiz. So in here we're going to say it that whatever we have in beginners, that is, it should whatever that is in the beginners list to upper. So if you run this same code, as if you print, that is, we are now having new list 5, and if you run this code, every names inside the beginner um, will be turned up. So this is the same way it is added, like the way we treated last time. You see, Nulu Pablo, Nulu Collins, Sterling, Blake. Remember, we talked about upper, we talked about lower, and we're going to talk about capitalize, which is something else we're going to talk about again. And also, how do you set all the values in the list, in the new list to be a particular name? Let's say this is how you can modify in terms of modify the strings. So if you want to set a new value in the list, and let's say 6, and I want to set the everything here in the list, let's say Andrew. So I want to set this everything here in the whole list into Andrew. For all the items, remember that I say X or A or B or P, but whatever is any item inside the beginners, that we want to set all of them to Andrew. So let's look at what is going to happen when we print it out. So we're going to say new lists, and then we're going to talk about new lists 6. Now if we run this code, we see that it is going to set the values in here as Andrew, 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 and rest of them, because we have 6, whatever that is inside every item, Andrew for all the item in the beginners. So whatever that is inside the beginners, replace all of them with Andrew. Now look at these things, because we might be far from what you might be thinking. These things we are talking about, where do you apply them? How do you see, where do you see this? I've given us an example that almost if you pick up your phone to do something, all these things you are seeing here is what is going on under the phone you are using. Which all whatever you're doing is going on, is just going on here. Like the same way we replace everything here as Andrew. If you want to search for a document and you say replace this with this, it is going to still do the same thing. The difference is that it append it here as you're seeing it. By the time we start using a document, we can have a document you set up online and you just make one changes and it change. And by the time we start this, we can also do when we'll be creating our website where we'll be working, because we're going to start up a project and we launch it on website. When you make one changes, you see it reflected immediately on the site. That is why when you go back to your school website, you see they have changed something. It is this thing that is changing the same whole thing. So you need to understand how basics all of them work. So this is how I can make changes on the list. And let's talk about a bit one, how to return something instead of something before we leave comprehension. So let me set up a new list of 7. And I'm setting up a 7, and I want to return for every item inside, if the item inside this beginners, let's say if the item, that is each of the item inside the list is not, if the item is not, remember, if it is not Nulu, or Nulu is 2, if it is not Andrew, if all the item inside the list is not Andrew, what will happen? You give a condition to the same thing, S, which is S if it is not Andrew. Okay, let's say if it is not, let's use another person's name which is inside here. Since it is Andrew, Andrew is, sorry, let me still use Lulu. For all the items inside here, inside the list, S, let it return Andrew. Now, it returning Andrew for each of the item inside the beginners list. So what it means is that X, if it is not Nulu, S, it should be Andrew for all the items inside the beginners. So now, if we now say show us what is inside the list, which is exactly what we're going to do now. So we're going to call the list 7, which is the last one. If we run this code, you should be able to see that all the items in the beginners that is not blue, it is automatically going to throw it back and replace it with Andrew. So for all the items that is Nulu, it's going to replace it back with Andrew. So if I want to replace it, this is how it is done. So I have Nulu and I want it, all the items should be okay, but replace everything you have here that is Nulu as Andrew. So this is exactly what is going to happen. Even if you store a particular data in a particular place and you want to make changes to that particular data quickly, you can use this way. For all the thing, you have a particular document that you have the name of your school and they want you to change the name of the school, you don't need to look for each of them to start creating them. With this, all the place you have the name of your, replace it with this. So for any place we see Nulu, replace it with that. Now look at the new list. You see now we have Andrew, Pablo, Andrew, Collins. Every other item here is okay. Now let's say it is like this. For example, for all the item that is equal to S, replace it with Andrew. So what is going to happen? Because here you say if it is equal to Lulu, S, replace it with Andrew. That is, it means here there's going to be an issue because all the item that is equal to S, the S statement, because it is having, it is a syntax level, S and after if. But see, we have if after F. So the understanding supposed to like S, because you have started with if, the next thing is X. Now I don't want us to get confused about if statement, S statement, or elif, because it is next thing we are going to go in. But this is just the normal list, how to store data. Then after storing the data, how do you make manipulations? Because if you want to make a call, for example, that is I want to call Andrew. But if Andrew is picking, tell me no answer. That's when we are going to add. We start using S, if and S. Yeah, go ahead if you're raising your hand.
Okay, this statement X for X, like your different new list, I noticed you are using different method
Mhm.
in doing it. So will I be right to say it's if statement you are using?
And come again, please.
For like for this one, I understand the first one you are saying, okay, the new list,
Mhm.
normal new list, you should print everything that has A in it.
Mhm.
Eh? But it's saying if it has A, you should print it. Will I say for this new list, you use if statement? Is that what you used?
Yes, for this.
Then
Yes, for
for
this.
this new list too, that you just said X for X.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then for new list two, the one that said X for X in
Mhm.
that one does not have if. Will
Yeah.
I like to say it's not if statement?
Mhm. Yeah, it is if statement, but
See if
there is no S.
sta-
I didn't give it another condition. I only give one statement. If it is not contain null. If I didn't say S. Now let me give you example. If I tell you Nulu, if you call me on phone, I didn't pick, send me message. That means if you call me on phone, I didn't pick, send me message. But if I say if you call me on phone and I stop there, that means if you call me on phone and I didn't pick, you don't even need to send me message. For example, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I give you two conditions. If it is not this, then do this. The first line says if there is no S. That is why I said if S is a problem, don't worry, we're going into it so that we will discuss it so that you will understand the condition you need to talk about if and S. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
okay, but what of this one that has for? Is it for loop
Yeah, that is for loop.
for X? Okay,
Yes.
that means it's possible to use all of them just mixed up like that.
Yeah,
Like because I'm seeing we have different.
do you know that this code here, this code, like there's a code that the first code we talked about revision is the same as those lines. But like I said, there's a time when we started understanding the code. If like I give you example, when we started, we were just declaring Lulu A, Collins B, Pablo C, Sterling D. This is getting big. Now we now say let us optimize this code because we are getting into this. Imagine when you're given 100,000 of name and they're asked to put them, declare them as a variable, and they're doing one after the other. So this is a comprehension. This is a comprehension. This is how we can use comprehension. So in the other one, we are using for. This is for loop. So it is straight, it's shorter. And like you say, a new one line can do a long thing. The other one is many lines that can still do the same thing. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Is that okay? Nulu, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. So that means you are missing all of them.
You say, why am I missing all of them?
No, like I'm saying that. So this thing we did now with
Yes.
comprehension.
Yes.
That's why we are using all of them together.
Okay. Why am I using all of them inside here? Is that what you mean? Oh. Yes, I'm using all of them here because it is comprehension. I'm just showing you different methods
like
to
I'm saying,
access something. So I don't want to put it in, writing them in new code, because if you copy number 1 and 11, it will work on a particular snippet. If you copy number 2 and number 12, it will work. But I just want to put them in the same place because I just feel like it is repetition of space, like we're filling up space, because I just want us to point out something. If you take line 9 into a new place, it will work independently. The only thing is, if you are referring to beginners, make sure you have beginners inside it. I don't know, get what I'm trying to say.
yes,
Yeah, so it
yeah,
means
but network is terrible.
it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's village people. So let's rush because I think this thing is taking us time. Now I want us to talk about sorting. Not sorting, the sorting you know in school, not that type of sorting. The sorting, like arranging numbers in this thing. Now, in default, if you want to sort something alphabetical order, just put sorting like this. You see what I did here? Just put beg.sort. It will sort by default the number or the name or whatever you have in alphabetical order. Do you see this now? By just put sort and this, it is going to put Collins, Blake, and rest of them. It's going to arrange this thing in alphabetical order for you. Is that okay? And that also is also applied to not just only aspect of it's not
Yeah.
applied to strings. It is also applied to integer. Like, let me use this as an example. That I have a list that the list contains 500. Let me just enter a random number. So if you have this type of number as a list and you want to sort them as suddenly, so still do the same thing. Put beg underscore, that is number, is equal dot sort. Once you put dot sort in a list, it's going to sort that in alphabetical order, which is exactly what I'm doing. So if I want to see the output, I'll just use the same print which we use, and I'll put beg underscore number. And if I run this code, it should sort the rest of the code inside the list in alphabetical order. Do you have any question on this? I think in this, when you will be doing a practice, you can use it mainly so that you will get used to it. Or this is a way you can sort the list. You see here 168, as in 162, 300. You see the way it arranged in alphabetical order. Whatever you put inside this list will automatically be sorted as from small to the big one. Now let's quickly talk about reverse sorting. What if you want to do it upside down from what it is, where it is here? So we can do the same thing. Now I'm going to put these two codes in the same place so that I can do it once because we don't have much time. So I'm going to copy this and then I'll paste both of them. Sorry. Control Z. Go to the end and paste this new one. Now to sort its reverse, that is up from ascending to descending, it is still the same thing, but what you just need to do is when you are putting the beginner, when you put the beginner and you put dot sort like this, now go inside this and tell the distance that reverse. A reverse here you can see is a built-in function, and if you say 2, it means it should sort the beginner, that the BEG, it should sort it reverse. And if I still do the same thing in the numerical, which is I'm also going to put the BEG underscore number, which is this, and then I put dot sort it, and I put it inside reverse. Like I said, reverse is a built-in function. So I'm going to put the reverse here, and I'm going to still say 2. And if I print both of them, so I want to check the output of both of them, which I'm just going to print both of them in the same line. So I'm going to say print the beginner, and also print the beginner's number. So I'm going to say BEG underscore number, and I run the same code. You will see that it's going to sort both of them in reverse format. Now it is now Victor Sterling in the other way. Instead of still it is Blake, now it is this other way. So this is a way you can sort this thing the other opposite direction. Now a quick one, if you want to customize, if you want to do customizing, which is customizing the function. So if you want to customize function, it means you can use the word keyword, that key, which will allow you to sort based on a particular this thing you design, like a rules you design for it. Example is, remember when we talk about my function, let me I assume that you define function. Let's use function. Now you define a function like what we did last time, and then we will use the function that we want to define as n. Remember, our last function we didn't put any value inside it, but today we are putting n inside it, and we want to return the absolute value. Don't worry, we'll be going to this, and let's say the absolute value is minus, let's say minus 25. Absolute value of whatever we want to put here should be minus 25, or any number you choose. Remember, like I said, we want to set a particular rules, and we want it to sort it based on that rules. So in that way, we are going to copy this code, which we call beginners. This code as called beginners number, and I am copying it and I'm pasting it here because I want it to return the beginners. And when it returns it, I want it to sort it based on the number that is closer to that particular function which we have defined. Now, which number is close to the function which we have defined? The number that is close to the function which we have defined, like minus 25. Which of this number that is close to the number minus 25? Any value it gives you that is very close to it. That is like trying to define the function to what it is. So for me to get that done, so I am going to say the beginners underscore number dot, the same thing we did, we sort it, dot sort, and when you sort it, now you are sorting it by the key which you have defined. Now I'm trying to sort it by the key, and I'm going to sort it with the key which I name as my function, the function I have, and then I can now go ahead and say print the beginner's number. It's telling here.
Yes.
Yeah, so you see Sterling, I have sorted a number that is, I'm trying to get a number that is close to 25. Any number that is added here, like 500 minus 25, which of these numbers are closer to 25? Now, I want to remove this, and I want to make it smaller number so that we will understand what I'm trying to say. So let me remove this and make this one 55, and make this one 26, and then maybe make this one 16, then make this one 43, and make this one 63. Now if I run this code, the code says the number which is 500 minus 25 is 497. Which of these numbers, sort this number based on the closer they are to the number minus 25. Now it means that this minus 25 is, so this is the smallest among them. It is very close to this number 16, the number which is, if you minus this number, 16 minus 25 is the closest number again. 43 minus 25 is the closest number, so that is why it's sorted like this. So still, what if I want to print? Tell me what I'm going to do to reverse this code to come in the opposite direction. Can you help me with that?